At exactly 10 today, London time, the official website of the British royal family suddenly published a short but haunting announcement.
No longer be possible for me to give so much of my time and energies to the charities and issues for which I care so deeply.
No names mentioned, no leaks from insiders, and not a single exclusive from the media outlets usually briefed in advance, a silent tradition before any major royal developments. The entire United Kingdom was stunned. The media went into panic mode. Social media erupted with a flood of speculation. Was King Charles facing a serious health crisis? Was he about to abdicate? Or was this the beginning of a historic power transition never before seen in royal history?
Have known that she'd been deceived. She was failed not just by a rogue reporter, but by leaders at the BBC who looked the other way rather than asking the tough questions.
Major news outlets like BBC, The Guardian, and Sky News immediately switched to live coverage, with constant updates from reporters stationed outside Buckingham Palace. The closer it got to the fateful hour, the tighter the tension wound. What shocked observers the most wasn't the content of the announcement, but the absolute silence from the palace. A silence that one senior royal historian summed up chillingly: if the palace is silent, what's coming isn't news. It's history. An eerie quiet had cracked open the door to an earth-shattering event, and every eye turned to 600p. And then, at precisely 600p, as the world held its breath for the familiar image of King Charles III or Queen Camilla to emerge with a strained smile before the cameras, that deadly silence was shattered, not by those expected, but by another couple younger, bolder, and seemingly far more prepared.
As much as we have now the reign of King Charles and Queen Consort Camilla, the future is William and Kate.
The doors of Kensington Palace opened beneath the blinding light of hundreds of camera flashes, and stepping out first was Prince William, composed, resolute, yet with something unmistakably different in his eyes, no longer the resigned expression of a man waiting for his turn on the throne, but the presence of a true leader. At his side, Princess Kate Middleton appeared regal yet unpretentious, wearing no cloak or crown, just a modest blue dress, elegant but laced with symbolism. They hadn't come to appease the press. They had come to change everything. There were no banners, no classical royal protocols, no trumpets, no ancient declarations, just a podium placed in front of the palace gates and a row of microphones trembling in the cold London wind. The crowd gasped, not in shock, but in disbelief at what was unfolding. Why then, where is the king?
A vilified royal mistress to the woman who will now shape the future of the monarchy. Camilla Parker Bowles has come a long way in the eyes of her nation and the world.
Where's Camilla? The questions buzzed, but no one dared speak them aloud. William's gaze as he reached for the microphone silenced them all. Then he spoke, deep, clear, and sharp, slicing through the thick tension in the air like a blade. The monarchy is not just a symbol, and it is a responsibility, and no flowery words, no drawn-out speech. Just one sentence, but it struck like thunder on a clear day. Those present at the scene described a chill rushing down their spines, not just because of the statement itself, but the firmness, the gravity in his tone, a power that did not come from the throne, but from vision. Then, Princess Kate, once dismissed as a decorative duchess in the early days of her royal life, stepped forward, looked straight into the camera, and said, "This is not about tradition. This is about trust." If William's words slashed through the old royal image like a sword, Kate's was the hammer that shattered any hollow expectations. In that moment, they were no longer heirs to the throne or the ideal royal couple. They were the new face of the monarchy. And they had just declared a revolution, not one of blood or force, but of brutal honesty. Within minutes of their declaration, Twitter exploded with the hashtag #NewRoyalEra. Instagram was flooded with screenshots from live broadcasts. TikTok lit up with video breakdowns of William's expression, Kate's voice, their body language, the way they stood united, unshakable. One media expert declared, they didn't just walk out of the palace. They walked straight into the hearts of the public. And perhaps most striking of all during the entire appearance, not once did William or Kate mention King Charles or Queen Camilla. No thank yous, no introductory remarks, not a single gesture of deference. A chilling silence yet more powerful than any spoken word. The transition had begun, and it didn't need permission. Royal experts, historians, and political commentators leapt into action. On BBC, veteran analyst Fiona McGregor said bluntly, "We are witnessing the most dramatic image reversal of the monarchy since Princess Diana's death. William and Kate don't just want to inherit the throne, they want to redefine what the throne means." It was a shocking truth. For centuries, the British monarchy had survived through symbols, rituals, and traditions upheld with near religious reverence. But for the first time, a royal couple dared to step outside that box. No crowns, no gazing down from palace windows, no spokespersons speaking on their behalf. Instead, they stood face to face with the people as two flesh and blood individuals, carrying hearts, responsibility, and a desire for change. The image of Queen Camilla, once the center of controversy for decades, now faded into the background. King Charles, who had only been crowned less than 2 years earlier, was suddenly overshadowed by his own son, and the public, long weary of royal scandals and whispers of hidden secrets, seemed more than ready to embrace something new. What was once tabloid speculation, a William-Kate era, was now beginning to feel very real. The crowd outside Kensington Palace grew larger by the minute. They weren't waiting for an event. They were waiting for a feeling, a sense of being understood, of being represented. Many were in tears. A young mother holding her 3-year-old whispered to a reporter, "I never thought I'd see this day." A future king calling responsibility sacred, and a future queen saying trust matters more than tradition. That's something I can teach my child. In less than an hour, every headline in the country focused on one thing: William and Kate hadn't just made a statement. They had reset how the monarchy was perceived. No longer a cold, distant, rigid institution, but a place that could stand in the 21st century and truly listen to the voices of the time. Britain's top PR expert, Jonathan Reeves, told Sky News, "This is no longer a game of ceremony. It's a war of image." And William and Kate just delivered a knockout punch. They're not following the royal script. They're rewriting it. This event, though not officially named, sparked a chain reaction no one could reverse. Inside the royal household, the prolonged silence from Charles and Camilla was seen as calculated. Some palace insiders whispered that even the king himself had been ambushed by his son's bold move. Meanwhile, public opinion polls showed over 72% support for the modern, decisive, and transparent approach William and Kate had just revealed. And somewhere in the quiet corners of the London night, a question crept through the ancient walls of the palace. Could this be the moment a new reign truly began? Even if no one had formally surrendered the crown, because in the hearts of the people, real power no longer resided in a golden crown. It lay in a voice that dared to speak for a new generation in an era that didn't need tradition as a shield, but needed trust as a weapon. Immediately after making the declaration that rocked the traditional image of the British royal family, as William and Kate stood tall before the crowd, no throne, no crown, just responsibility and belief, the Princess of Wales left the nation breathless once more when she added, "And this is only the beginning." The crowd stood spellbound. No one moved. Reporters simply pushed their microphones closer. Social media nearly froze under the avalanche of exploding hashtags. And in that tense silence, Kate Middleton, once dismissed as the royal family's safe, silent shadow, took another daring step forward. A step no one anticipated, yet one that carried the signature of a woman unafraid to ask, what is a legacy if it isn't carried on through action? And so, she unveiled the Diana Initiative, No trumpets, no spotlight tricks, no flowery speeches. Kate simply said, "This initiative isn't about me. It's about a woman who made me and the world believe that compassion can change everything. Princess Diana started it. I will continue." The crowd was stunned into silence. A wave of emotion surged not just because Diana's name was invoked publicly in a historic declaration, but because Kate had so skillfully, yet decisively, revived the spirit the monarchy had spent 2 decades trying to bury. At that moment, no one remembered Camilla. No one mentioned Charles. All they saw was Diana resurrected, not as a replica, but as a new will, reborn through the resolve of Kate Middleton. The Diana Initiative wasn't a conventional charity. No lavish fundraising ayalas or polite, rehearsed speeches, no red carpets, no VIP rows reserved for aristocrats. Kate made it clear, we will not host events just for photo ops. Every resource will go directly where it's needed most. To the places Princess Diana once quietly visited: shelters for abused women, centers for the homeless, low-income communities neglected by the government's flashy promises. Kate didn't just talk. She presented a concrete plan with an initial budget sourced from personal funds and international nonprofit partners, not the royal budget. The first goal: to build 12 safe houses across rural England for women and children suffering from mental health crises and domestic violence. Next, a free psychological support network for minority communities, a topic Diana once courageously raised, but was buried by the palace's media machinery. There is no such thing as something small when you're in need of being heard, Kate emphasized. And that is the fundamental difference between the Diana Initiative and typical royal charity campaigns, which are often orchestrated with tight PR protocols. Kate doesn't want to simply show up, cut a ribbon, and turn away. She is committed to stepping into shelters herself, listening to real stories, touching real pain, and working with her team to deliver real solutions. From London to Manchester, from local humanitarian groups to veteran journalists who once followed Diana's footsteps, everyone agrees no one in the royal family has dared to do this since the death of the Princess of Compassion, an executive at Refuge, an organization that supports women escaping domestic violence, broke into tears during a live broadcast. "We've waited 25 years for this. Finally, there's a royal who isn't here just for a photo op, but here to make a difference." The international press immediately jumped in. The New York Times called it the British monarchy's humanitarian pivot. France's Le Monde headlined Kate Middleton challenging the old ways with modern kindness. And in Germany, Der Spiegel boldly declared, "William rebuilds the throne, Kate rebuilds the kingdom's heart." Remarkably, Kate never mentions politics, yet every move she makes carries profound social significance. She doesn't need to attack anyone. All she does is highlight what the public truly needs: presence, authenticity, and empathy. What Princess Diana once offered with bare hands and an unguarded heart. A royal historian exclaimed on a live panel, "Diana shook the monarchy with emotion." Kate is doing the same through action. What makes this initiative impossible to ignore is its meticulous organization, to the point that even members of the British cabinet have taken notice. There is an independent legal team, an international coordinating board made up of experts in mental health, domestic abuse, and education. Each project has specific KPIs, public reporting mechanisms, and oversight both inside and outside the royal household. This is not a fleeting campaign. It is a long-term humanitarian strategy. To the public, this isn't just touching. It's a rekindling of faith after years scarred by scandals, internal feuds, million-dollar weddings, and fruitless royal tours. At last, the people of Britain see a royal brave enough to ask, what have we truly done for the vulnerable? And the answer is, Kate is doing it. Genuinely, transparently, with full accountability. No one is saying Diana can be replaced. But with this initiative, Kate Middleton has proven that Diana's legacy is not dead. It just needed a heart big enough, a vision deep enough, and a woman bold enough to step outside the safe confines of her title, a princess who doesn't live in anyone's shadow, but shines with her own light. And then, as night fell over London that evening, with urgent headlines still buzzing about the royal image revolution, a little boy at Shelter North in Birmingham, a place once visited by Diana in 1991, turned to the center's manager and asked, "Is Miss Kate really coming here?" The answer, yes, and very soon. Because she promised, and this time the royal family isn't making empty promises. Kate Middleton is rewriting legacy not with blood, not with power, but with tangible action, with Diana's compassion and the strength of a new era. As the public continues to celebrate the rebirth of Princess Diana in the form of a modern initiative named Kate Middleton, inside the age-old walls of Buckingham Palace, another kind of earthquake is quietly rumbling. In stark contrast to the hopeful energy outside, the atmosphere within the palace is thick with tension, a silence not of reverence, but of suppressed fury. King Charles III, who once proudly declared he would lead the British monarchy into a new era, now sits motionless in his office, his gaze fixed on the live press conference that had just concluded, featuring his eldest son and daughter-in-law. His eyes, usually composed and inscrutable, now reflect shock, not because of what William said, but how he said it. And because of the name that echoed once more before the global press, Diana, "What have they done?" he muttered, as if unable to believe his own ears. A senior aide present at that moment recalled never before had they seen King Charles this shaken since the coronation. He didn't shout, but the way he sat frozen, his fingers clenching the chair, his stare turned utterly blank. That's when we knew he had reached his breaking point. The return of the name Diana in a way no one expected was like a razor-sharp blade stabbing into a past Charles and Camilla had spent nearly 3 decades trying to bury. And the one who plunged it in was none other than William, his own son, the very person meant to inherit not only the throne but the carefully constructed royal image strategy. But William had rejected the safe path. And what was more devastating didn't come from William. It came from Kate. With a calm smile and a resolute voice, Kate didn't just mention Diana, she turned her name into a guiding light for a 21st century royal revolution right in front of those who once cast Diana aside as an inconvenient symbol. Elsewhere in the palace, Queen Camilla bit her lower lip, not from fear, but from unease. Diana's name had never been a memory for her. It was a lingering ghost, a shadow she could never erase, not even with a crown, not even on a throne from the heart of the public. And now that shadow has not only returned, it has been reignited with trust, with action, and with a young woman whom Camilla had long privately regarded as too cautious to make an impact. Just one day after William and Kate's historic announcement, as the British press was flooded with bold headlines like "The Diana Initiative," "A Legacy Reborn," and "Princess Kate becomes the Diana of a new era," Queen Camilla made a sudden appearance at a small charity event in Chelsea. She smiled politely, as usual, before the press, but her response sparked a brand new storm. When asked about the Diana Initiative, Camilla replied, "We don't need to invoke the past to prove our commitment in the present." A seemingly harmless statement, but in the royal family's high-strung atmosphere, it was instantly interpreted as a direct jab at the initiative Kate had painstakingly built, and at the same time, as a backhanded slap to Diana's legacy. The headlines did not miss a beat. Camilla takes a swipe at Diana and Kate royal frontline. Form Diana Kate versus Camilla. The palace remains silent. But Camilla's words say it all. Social media erupted once more. Many wrote bluntly, Camilla should learn to stay silent while Kate is doing what she never dared to do in the face of reality. Buckingham Palace's silence only made things worse. No official statement was released to soften Camilla's words. No clarification that she was misunderstood or that her comment had been taken out of context. Instead, palace corridors echoed with strategic leaks, whispered fragments that political reporters dubbed orchestrated disclosures. An anonymous source inside the palace told The Guardian, the king was completely blindsided by William and Kate's move. He feels like he's lost control over the royal image he spent decades building in order to legitimize Camilla's place. And now, one mention of Diana and it all came crashing down. That fear of losing control, once unthinkable for a seasoned monarch, has become palpable, especially now that the world's focus, not just Britain's, is shifting toward the next generation. But this shift is not happening according to the royal script. It isn't the gentle handover Charles once envisioned. It is a quiet but powerful overtaking, and no one, not even Charles, can stop it. Royal experts now say this is not merely a personal rift between Camilla and Kate, nor just a generational clash. It's a structural divide, a fading royal establishment clinging to formality and protocol, now facing off with a new era that places humanity at the center. Dr. Margaret Dunham, a royal politics expert at Oxford University, commented, Camilla represents the monarchy's attempt at restoring faith and tradition, but Kate, by reviving Diana's legacy, has shifted the focus from the throne to the people, and that terrifies those sitting on the throne. Meanwhile, public support for the Diana initiative keeps surging. A wave of charities have begun aligning with the project. Major celebrities are speaking out in favor. Tech startups are offering to sponsor infrastructure for its charitable management systems. Children are drawing pictures of Diana and sending them to Kensington Palace as if to say, we remember her. And we believe in Kate. Back at Buckingham Palace, the doors to the media remain firmly shut. No corrections, no congratulations, no responses, a chilling silence signaling that these fractures are no longer being hidden behind ceremonial walls, but are slowly seeping out, crack by crack, awaiting the moment they rupture. The question is no longer if there is a split, but how deep it already runs. And perhaps most striking of all, the public seems to be choosing sides. And they are not choosing the crown. They are choosing the heart. That heart, once suffocated by the past, is beating again under the name of an initiative, and under the name of a woman who bears the Middleton surname, but is now carrying forward the soul of Spencer. And just as the public hadn't yet recovered from Kate Middleton's bombshell declaration and Buckingham Palace's icy reaction, another bombshell exploded. This time, not from Kensington, not from Buckingham, but from across the Atlantic. Prince Harry, in a live interview broadcast on a major American television network, made a surprising statement: the Diana Initiative is our mother's legacy being fulfilled. Just one sentence, but it sent shockwaves through the British media. No one expected that, in the midst of the escalating tension between the younger and older generations of the royal family, the self-exiled son, who once declared he was stepping away from all royal duties, would reappear not to criticize, but to support. The public was stunned. Experts were speechless. And his brother, Prince William, was left reeling. According to a source close to the royal family, William had not been informed in advance about Harry's statement. When the news reached Kensington Palace, where William and Kate had just become the face of a soft revolution, William's initial reaction was described as silent for a moment, then angrily calling Harry directly. That call, according to someone close to Harry, was not a warm conversation between two brothers who once shared the pain of losing their mother. It was a fierce verbal clash, what insiders are calling a repeat of the fracture that never healed since 2020. William reportedly felt usurped that Harry, who had abandoned his royal role, was now intruding on an initiative that he and Kate had meticulously planned, as if trying to reclaim a share of the emotional legacy that was now tied to them. But Harry did not back down. In the hour-long interview, when asked whether he felt excluded from his mother's initiative, Harry responded, "No. I don't believe my mother's work should belong to any one person. It belongs to everyone. That's how she lived, and that's how she should be remembered. Those words, seemingly supportive, were interpreted by royal political analysts as a subtle but sharp critique of the possessiveness William was unconsciously displaying. On Twitter, hashtags like #SharedLegacy and #OneMother2Battles went viral, while Instagram and TikTok flooded with sensational memes. Same mother, different war, Diana divided, the monarchy shattered, and even we are her children, not subjects of the crown. But this conflict didn't start today. It is a long-standing fracture, once masked by ceremony and strained smiles. And as if the public hadn't remembered enough, Harry's memoir Spare resurfaced, with every page being re-examined. In it, the shocking account of a physical altercation between the two brothers during a heated argument at Nottingham Inn Cottage where Harry lived with Meghan is now seen as a forewarning of today's collapse. He grabbed my collar, pushed me down. I fell and hit my head on the dog's bowl, Harry wrote in the book. Words that had once shocked the public now echo again, like a cry from a wound that never healed. Analysts argue that this physical clash is not merely symbolic of personal tension, but evidence of a deeper battle won to define the legacy of Diana, a woman who left her sons not only with love and longing, but also with burden. Dr. Helen Riddell, a family psychology expert at King's College London, explained Diana's death created a collective trauma in her two boys. But instead of healing together, they chose different paths through grief. William chose to carry the crown. Harry chose to reject it. And now that Diana's legacy is in the spotlight, each wants to protect the way they remember her, and that prevents them from finding common ground. The divide has never been more visible. The American media praised Harry's words as a courageous stance for humanity. Meanwhile, British outlets, particularly those aligned with the palace, ran headlines like "Harry hijacks Diana's legacy to restore his image," or "The disgraced prince now claims credit." From the public's perspective, the world is split. Some people strongly support the Diana initiative led by Kate, seeing her as the new embodiment of poise and purposeful action, everything Diana once hoped for. They criticize Harry as a quitter, someone who abandoned his royal duties and is now trying to force his way back into something he once rejected. But on the other hand, millions, especially in the US, Canada, and former colonies, view Harry as a brave son who dares to challenge the outdated structures of monarchy, using his voice to remind the world, "My mother belonged to the people, not the crown." This is no longer a personal feud. It is a symbolic war. Diana, though gone for nearly 3 decades, has once again become the most sensitive touchpoint in the hearts of the public and the souls of her 2 sons. And ironically, as her name was invoked during a revolutionary event led by Kate, the long-dormant tensions have surged back with more force than ever. The Diana Initiative, though not yet officially launched, is no longer just a humanitarian organization. It has become a battlefield of memory, emotion, and the very definition of motherhood within the modern royal family. Every statement, every move, every word related to the initiative is now dissected under the media's microscope and interpreted as a political message. While William remains silent, focusing on coordinating the initiative with his team at Kensington Palace, royal correspondents reported that Kate appeared calmer than ever. A source from within described, "The princess understands that anyone who mentions Diana inevitably carries pain, but she's not unafraid to face it. And in fact, her silence is the most powerful message. She doesn't need to argue. She lets actions speak." Still, the public keeps asking, can the 2 brothers reconcile? Will the Diana Initiative become a bridge? Or will it deepen the fracture within a family already fragile from so many upheavals? And above all, Diana, once seen as an outsider, a troublemaker, a gust of wind that blew the throne off course, is now the focal point of a redefinition of the monarchy in the 21st century. Not through status, but through the heart. The battle for her legacy has officially begun, and it's not happening in the shadows. It's happening in full view of the world. As the Diana initiative rises like a moral storm sweeping through Kensington Palace with William, Kate, and Harry caught in a tug-of-war over the legacy of their late mother, another truth, simmering and painful, begins to resurface with equal force the bridesmaid dress incident before Meghan and Harry's wedding. What once seemed like a minor backstage scuffle is now viewed as the first spark that ignited the quiet war between two women once seen as the future of the British monarchy. The story began in 2018, just days before the globally anticipated wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. At the time, all eyes were fixated on every detail from the venue to the guest list, from the bride's tiara to the tiny dresses the little bridesmaids would wear. Among them, one name stood out: Princess Charlotte, daughter of William and Kate, just 3 years old, but already a miniature fashion icon in Britain. And then it happened: Charlotte's dress didn't fit. According to Meghan's revelation in her bombshell interview with Oprah Winfrey in 2021, Kate had messaged her in a remarkably cold tone with no pleasantries, no concern for the emotional stress the bride was under during one of the most critical weeks of her life. The message simply stated that the dress didn't fit and needed to be replaced immediately. Meghan, already under relentless attack from the British tabloids, tried to remain calm, suggesting Kate bring Charlotte in for another fitting. But the response wasn't positive. Words were exchanged. The tension escalated to the point where both women ended up in tears. But later, the story was completely twisted. British media claimed that Meghan made Kate cry. In the most painful part, Kate never corrected the record. Not a single clarification came from the Princess of Wales. No palace statement, no gesture to stop the flood of negative coverage that was drowning Meghan, who was pregnant with her first child at the time.